Hello, writers. I wanted to, go over the process of writing an outline with you today, since you will be writing an outline, if you want, for this assignment this week for your final paper. So, the first thing that I really want to say about an outline is that I think a lot of us, when we went to school, we were presented with this idea that, an outline has to look in a very, very specific way. You use a Roman numeral, a uppercase letter, a number, a lowercase letter. It has to be done in a specific order. Sorry. It's just really kind of a tedious thing. And what I want to say is that when you are writing an outline for yourself, or one, like in this class where you're just kind of presenting this outline of what you're going to be writing about, don't worry so much about that strict formatting. If you're in a class where you're getting graded on your outline and you're asked to write in a strict outline format and kind of show that you can understand that and use that, then, do that, obviously. But when you're just writing an outline for yourself, just don't worry about that. You can be as creative as you want. You can write by hand. You can use different colors. You can, I tell my students, write a picture, draw a little picture of a teddy bear if you want to for your first point. It doesn't matter, because you're doing this for you. Your outlines are really for you. And I know that for me, in high school especially, and in college too, outlines were presented in such a way that it felt like I was doing something for the teacher, and it had to be done right for the teacher, and that didn't help me. It was just it felt like busy work, it felt tedious, it felt very strict, and I would do what I had to do to try to get the best possible grade, but it wasn't necessarily that helpful to me. Then when I got later on into college and into graduate school, and nobody was asking to see my outlines anymore, and I was doing them for myself, I realized that they were incredibly helpful and that they made the essay writing process so much quicker. So I really would urge you all to stop thinking of the outline as being something that you're doing for a teacher, and it's something that you're doing for yourself to for one thing, make the process go much faster. Because if you get used to writing an outline before you do your paper, you will write your paper in half the time. So if you take 5 extra minutes to do your outline, you're going to cut, however much time off of that essay writing. That's going to be far more than the time spent put into the outline. This might not be true the first couple of times that you do it, but certainly as you get used to it, it will be. Because you'll have everything organized really nicely, and then the paper will pretty much write itself. So, like I'm saying, I don't care what your outline looks like. You give me an outline here, it can look like anything that works for you and for your brain. This kind of set, I'm pointing at the screen with my hand, but this kind of set, really strict formula outline that most of us were taught, and there are a couple different formats that what you were taught might not look like this. This may work really well for a neurotypical brain. And I think people are starting to understand. If you're younger, you're probably starting to understand that neurodiversity is much more complex than we originally thought. Where largely you think of people maybe who are on the autism spectrum as being neurodiverse, but in reality, certainly people with ADHD and any number of things are also have a neurodiversity, and a lot of people who maybe don't have anything diagnosed or anything like that, but if you ever think to yourself, my brain doesn't really work like that, that's a form of neurodiversity, even if it's not diagnosable or anything specific or particularly interferes with your life. If your brain kind of processes information a little differently, if certain formats just don't really work for you, you need to give yourself permission to do what does work for you. So I've kind of gone off on a rant here, but I think it's really an important one, because I struggled a lot. I do have ADHD, and I struggled a lot when I was in high school. It wasn't diagnosed until I was older, and I struggled because my ADHD makes it that if I'm trying to focus on doing this very specific format with these strict rules, it just does not work for me. It really feels tedious and unhelpful. So just giving yourself permission to say, this may work wonderfully for certain people. My best friend, this is, her thing. Like lists and formats and strict, rules work wonderful for her brain. My brain, not so much. So do what works for you. But don't discount an outline. Outlines are wonderful no matter how your brain works. You just have to create them the way that works for you. And like I said, using things like pictures and colors and things like that will work very well for certain people. And we should all be doing what's going to work the best for us to learn. So there are a couple of things that I'm going to say that you really should try to have in your outline. I don't care how you format them or how you put them. I don't care what fonts you use or colors you use or anything like that. But what you're going to want in your outline is you want your thesis statement. Now, I have up here, this is a thesis statement I kind of wrote out, but not every assignment requires a 3-part thesis, but every teacher I know loves them. If you use a 3-part thesis, it makes you stand out immediately. So your 3-part thesis will state your argument and your 3 supporting points. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cold. So your argument or your assertion is something that can be defended. It is not a statement of fact. You cannot say, I'm trying to think of a statement of fact right now that, so many people plagiarize in college or whatever. You want something that you can defend. Plagiarism is a serious problem in colleges. I can defend that throughout the paper. If you just say something that's just flat out true, then you can't defend it or support it throughout the paper. So you want something that is more than a statement of fact, that is an argument or an assertion that can be defended. Do a 3-part thesis statement. It's a good idea. You can watch my video on how to create a 3-part thesis statement. They just work really well. Teachers love to see them. It makes you look like a good student. You know that you're going to have enough information in your paper. It's just a good thing. So for your introduction, you're going to want to hook something interesting, something to pull the reader in. And so in your outline, write your hook. Don't write hook. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help you. It helps you maybe a little bit so you remember to do it when you're writing. But try to think of a hook. Change this as you go. Don't worry about sticking to it. Don't worry about feeling stuck with it. Then the very last sentence of your introduction should be your thesis statement. I want to see this in your outline. There's no point in posting an outline to me that doesn't have your full thesis statement. Not your topic, your full thesis statement. These are 2 different things. Plagiarism would be my topic. You want your full thesis statement here. Then, for your body paragraphs, I'd really love to see your topic sentence. You don't have to really do a ton on your outline with your body paragraphs, but if you have any ideas, throw them in here of your supporting points and such. Also, your outline is a wonderful place to store your research. The quotes that you want to use, the facts and statistics you want to use, you put them right into your outline in the places where you're going to want to use them in the paper, supporting the points that you want to support. You can move everything around. That's the great thing about an outline before you write the paper is you can shift things around, delete things, put things in a new place. There's nothing stopping you. It's a very fluid thing. And that's another thing that's important to remember is your outline, your thesis, all of it is fluid. It can all be changed at any point. Don't think of it as final until you finish the essay. And this is one of the most important points that students don't seem to understand and stresses them out to a great deal, which is that at the end of all of this, reread your thesis statement, and if your thesis statement doesn't match the paper, change your thesis statement. You can change your thesis statement in a matter of seconds. Trying to change the paper to fit the thesis statement is going to be a lot more work. Don't ever think you're stuck with a thesis until you've hit submit for that paper. So when you're writing the actual paper, you're going to want a transition sentence. I suggest that you use at least a quote or a cited paraphrase, at least one in each paragraph of supporting paragraph. Put them right in here. You want short quotes. You don't want the quotes to overwhelm your essay, but you do want either a little bit of a quote or a paraphrase, something, and a citation in each of your body paragraphs to show that you have research to support what you're saying. For this essay, then you're going to want to have your solution. That's going to be however many paragraphs it needs to be. So, jot down your ideas for your solutions or solutions. And then you're going to get to your conclusion. Remember, for your conclusion, never introduce new information. There should never be, anything in the conclusion that wasn't in here. For this kind of essay, you always want to restate your thesis in a new way, and you want to wrap up your main points. That's a comma splice there. I should not have a comma between these two parts. But once again, don't worry about that in your outline. That's not what outlines are for. Use short sentences, use improper grammar. It doesn't matter, because you're really just getting ideas out there for yourself. And then you put them together in a really nice, neat way when you're writing the essay. So in your conclusion, for a problem and solution essay, I would suggest a call to action. This is a technique that you can use in conclusions in a lot of different classes with a lot of essays. They don't always work, but in a problem and solution essay, a call to action is definitely going to work, and it's going to be a great way to kind of pull your essay together and send it out on a strong note. Your call to action could either be the call to do your solution, or if you have one of those topics that's really huge and you're not presenting a solution, you're just presenting a problem, your call to action would be, something about why it needs to be addressed, how this has to be taken seriously, how immediate action needs to be taken. Just a quick reminder, this paper should be 900 to 1,000 words. That's not including your 5 sources that you're going to have. So on a separate page, you're going to have at least 5 sources, and they are going to be scholarly sources in proper MLA or APA format. Don't include those in your word count. Don't include your heading or your APA title page in your word count. And make sure that your essay is in third person. That means don't use me, my, I, we, our, let's, L-E-T apostrophe S, or us. Because let's is short for let us. That's one of the most overlooked ones. Don't use words like I think I said, our, ourselves, you, your, yourself, etc. And don't refer to yourself in the third person. Don't say this author believes. That's first person still. So I think those are the main things I want to tell you. If you have any questions about APA or MLA, please let me know. And let me just see if I can pull up. No, that's not it. I had the instructions for the essay somewhere. There we go. So here we go. I just want to say, remember, just kind of read through these questions. It's in your template. It's in the instructions for the final assignment. So don't, put these questions in there, but use these questions as a guide when you're writing your essay. Remember, 900 to 1,000 words. Analyze and provide a solution, ideally. Don't go above and below. 5 sources from the A+ library. So remember that. And, like I said, if you have questions about APA or MLA, I have some great citation generators that I can give to you. When you're writing your outline, cite everything. Anytime you put a fact, a statistic, a quote, anything in there, cite it as you go. It will make the essay writing process, that is the point, that you're just shaving a ton of time off of your essay writing by just doing these citations as you go. And then when you write the essay, just boom, you have them. You don't have to go try to find it and look it up or anything like that. And that's really one of, using quotes, using facts in there and citing them as you go. That's not something I was generally taught to do in college, and I'm going to say that it's one of the most useful things. When I was going to graduate school and writing 20-page papers, 30-page papers, using my quotes in my outline and then not having to go search for those and knowing exactly where I wanted to use them, it made the biggest difference of anything. So I do strongly suggest that. Remember that each paragraph should be at least 5 sentences long. This is another thing you don't always hear teachers tell you, and yet we're all looking for that, 5 or more sentences, because it doesn't really feel like there's just enough, meat there if you don't have that. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm here.